German saying goes, "Fear not the loud forest, but the silent field."
The year is 1922. In the heart of Bavaria, Germany, surrounded by deep woods and fields of snow, lies a farm. It is not a place of warmth or community. It is a place of isolation. Its name is Hinterkaifeck. The name itself means behind the fir woods. A fitting description for a place so cut off from the world, a place where secrets could fester and a scream could go unheard. Living within these walls was the Gruber family. A household bound by work, by blood, and by dark rumors that the nearby villagers whispered about. The patriarch was Andreas Gruber, a stern and domineering man of 63. With him lived his wife, Cecilia, aged 72. Their widowed daughter, Victoria Gabriel, 35 years old, also lived on the farm with her two children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph. But there was a shadow over this family. It was widely rumored that Andreas was in an incestuous relationship with his daughter Victoria, and that little Joseph was his son, not the son of her husband who had died in the Great War. In the final days of March 1922, the veil of normalcy at Hinterkaifeck began to tear. A series of strange, unsettling events started to occur, like warnings from an unseen world. First, Andreas found a newspaper in his home. A newspaper from Munich that he had never bought, and no one in the area subscribed to. It was simply there. Then, the house keys vanished. A thorough search revealed nothing. It was as if the farm itself was turning against them, leaving them trapped. But the most chilling omen was found outside. Andreas discovered a single set of footprints in the fresh snow, leading from the dense woods directly to the farmhouse, but there were no footprints leading away. That night, he heard them. Unfamiliar footsteps creaking in the attic above his bed. He searched with a lantern, but found no one. Yet the sounds persisted on subsequent nights. So you might ask, why didn't they leave? Why not alert the police? The answer likely lies in the stubborn and isolated nature of the family. To them, these were strange occurrences, perhaps pranks, but not yet a mortal threat. A fatal miscalculation. Friday, March 31st, 1922. This is the last day anyone is known to have seen the Grubers alive. On this day, their new maid, Maria Baumgartner, arrived at the farm. It was her first and last day of work. The next day, Saturday, 7-year-old Cecilia failed to appear at school. This was unusual, but not immediately alarming in such a rural community. On Sunday, they missed church. Again, noticed, but not acted upon. The mailman came and went, seeing the mail pile up, but assumed they had gone away. It wasn't until Tuesday, April 4th, for full days after the family was last seen, that concern truly mounted. A coffee salesman had come by and found the farm utterly silent. He reported his concerns to the villagers. This leads to our next question. How could a family with livestock completely disappear for 4 days without anyone investigating? In that era, farmers were self-sufficient. A family keeping to themselves for a few days was not a cause for immediate panic. But 4 days, that was different. That afternoon, a search party was formed, led by a neighbor, Lorenz Schlittenbauer. They cautiously approached the silent farm, an unspoken dread hanging in the air. They found the house locked. They called out, but only silence answered. Their first point of entry would be the place where the farm's work was done, the barn. Inside, shielded from the world, they made a discovery of unimaginable horror. Lying in the hay, partially covered, were 4 bodies. It was Andreas Gruber, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and the young granddaughter, Cecilia. All had been brutally killed, their heads smashed by a pickaxe. The horror was not over. The search party moved from the barn to the main house. The scene inside was strangely peaceful, at first. A table was set. Beds were made. But in the maid's chamber, they found her. The new maid, Maria Baumgartner, slain in her bed on her very first night at the farm. And finally, in Victoria's bedroom, in his cot, lay the youngest victim. 2-year-old Joseph. Killed just like the rest. In a strange and disturbing detail, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, the neighbor who led the search, picked up and moved the bodies, contaminating what little evidence there was. An act of shock, or something more? The Munich Police Department was called in. Inspector George Gruber and his team arrived to a scene of chaos. The crime scene had been hopelessly compromised by the villagers. The initial autopsies were conducted right there on the farm. They confirmed the cause of death, extreme blunt force trauma to the head, delivered by the pickaxe found at the scene. The police were immediately faced with a baffling question. How did the killer manage to kill 6 people? The evidence suggested a terrifying method. The theory was that he lured the first 4 victims, Andreas, Victoria, Kazilia Sr., and young Kazilia, into the barn one by one, perhaps using a sound from the cattle as bait, and dispatched them in the darkness. He then entered the house to kill the maid, Maria, and finally, the sleeping infant, Joseph. It was a methodical, patient, and ruthlessly efficient slaughter. But here the mystery deepens into sheer psychological horror. The police investigation concluded that the killer did not flee after the murders on Friday night. The evidence was undeniable. The cattle and the dog had been fed. Food had been eaten from the kitchen. And neighbors had seen smoke rising from the chimney all weekend. This leads to one of the most disturbing questions of the entire case. Did the killer live on the farm for days with the bodies of his victims? Imagine the scene. A phantom, moving through the silent house, tending to the animals, sleeping in a warm bed, all while the family he slaughtered lay dead in the barn and in their rooms. It is a level of cold-bloodedness that defies comprehension. The motive was another dead end. Robbery was ruled out. A significant amount of money and valuables were found untouched in the house. With no clear motive and no witnesses, the police were stumped. They pursued hundreds of leads, interviewing traveling salesmen, vagrants, and neighbors, but every path went cold. In a final, grim chapter of the initial investigation, the bodies were taken to Munich. In a bizarre decision, the heads were removed and sent to clairvoyants in the desperate hope of a supernatural clue. The clairvoyants provided nothing. The heads were eventually lost during the chaos of World War II, adding one final, strange mystery to the case. The victims of Hinterkaifeck could not even be buried whole. The investigation stalled. The files grew thicker, but the answers remained elusive. The phantom of Hinterkaifeck had vanished as completely as he had appeared. But a lack of evidence has never stopped suspicion. And over the years, suspicion has circled certain individuals like vultures. The first ghost was Carl Gabriel, Victoria's husband, who was reportedly killed in the trenches of World War I. But his body was never found. This led to the theory that Gabriel hadn't died at all. That he had returned from Russia, discovered his wife's infidelity and the dark secret of her family, and enacted a terrible revenge before disappearing forever. A compelling story, but one without any proof. The most persistent suspicion, however, fell much closer to home. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, the neighbor, the man who led the search party, the man who had a previous affair with Victoria. Many believe that little Joseph was actually Schlittenbauer's son, not Andreas Gruber's. The motive? Perhaps Victoria was demanding financial support. Perhaps he wanted to wipe the slate clean and silence the entire family who knew his secret. His behavior at the crime scene was deeply strange. His immediate knowledge of where to look, his handling of the bodies. It all pointed to a familiarity that was unsettling. So you must be thinking, with all this suspicion, why was he never convicted? The answer is a frustrating one for any detective, a complete lack of direct evidence. In a world before DNA and modern forensics, suspicion alone could not secure a conviction. Schlittenbauer maintained his innocence until his death, even winning defamation cases against those who accused him. He remains the most compelling suspect, but officially, he is an innocent man. Other theories pointed to drifters or vagrants, perhaps trying to rob the farm. But this theory collapses under a simple fact. Nothing was stolen. The large sum of money in the house remained untouched. This was not a crime of opportunity. It was a crime of passion, of rage, of personal vengeance. The police interrogated over 100 suspects through the years. Each interview, each lead, led only to another dead end. The case file grew, but the truth remained buried in the snow. The mystery became a dark legend in the region, a ghost story told to frighten children, a wound on the local psyche that never truly healed. The farm itself, the physical heart of the horror, was deemed unsalvageable. A year after the murders, it was completely demolished. The wood was burned, the foundations filled. It was an attempt to erase the crime from the landscape, to pretend it never happened. But memory is not so easily erased. Today, nothing remains. Only an empty field and a small monument, a lonely stone marker in a sea of grass. In 2007, a German police academy took on Hinterkaifeck as a cold case project. Using modern investigative techniques, they analyzed the decades-old evidence one last time. Their final report remains classified, out of respect for the descendants of the potential suspects. But they did state one thing: they believe they solved the case and know who the killer is. But they also concluded that the evidence, even today, would be insufficient to secure a conviction in court. And so, the official verdict remains unsolved. The name of the killer, though perhaps known to a select few, will likely never be publicly declared. The secret is kept. The story of Hinterkaifeck is a chilling reminder that the greatest monsters are not always strangers who leap from the shadows. Sometimes, they are the ones we know. The neighbor. The family member. The phantom hiding in plain sight, their footsteps unheard until it is too late. The snow has long since melted. The farm is gone. But in the quiet fields of Bavaria, the echo of a pickaxe striking in the dark can still be heard by those who listen closely.